Tayasui Sketches. How do you pronounce it? I'm not really sure. I actually had to look it up. I always try and pronounce it as Tayasu, but when you look it up on the internet, it says Tayasui. Despite not really knowing how to pronounce it, I do know this art app very well. This was my first ever digital art app that I used as a child. Before my current affair with Procreate, there was this super cool free digital art app that made things easy. All the tools and a limited number of layers, as well as its very own social area for posting your art to a community of like-minded artists. It was quite a deal. Starting screen and various folders looked exactly like they used to, or the way I left them. Drawing, lessons, community, and a bunch of other unnecessary folders. Not sure you really need an inspired tab or a my lessons, but at least they hide the tutorial all the way at the end. So if you are confused, it's all the way down there. Just make sure you look around first. And then I made the mistake of swiping left from the beginning personal folder. What is this doing here? Mind you, I don't think they even mentioned this in the App Store, but this is straight up blasphemy. Disrespectful, disgusting. I was thrown into a severe panic attack and almost deleted the app. Almost decided I didn't want to do this anymore. All I have to say is shame on Tayasui Sketches for this blatant dismissal of human creativity. While this annoyed me greatly, I wasn't going to let it distract me from finishing what I came here to do, and that was create a single artwork. You might notice that your folder has a settings button. Well, this is so you can customize it. I think it's very fun that you get to design the front of your folder. Bagels floating in the air. Classy, right? As always, you should know the drill. If you're a digital artist like me, that is. After creating a canvas, of which you can change the size of, I explored the starting interface. The toolkit at the far left is the same as it's always been, but now you can create new tools with heavy alterations to make it how you want it. This also means you can edit the pre-made tools that are already at your disposal. The upper right has a whole load of different confusing buttons, the important ones being the opacity and the size slider, the Zen mode, which clears off clutter for more focused creativity, and the layers button, as well as the return button if you are wanting to save your masterpiece and go back to your gallery. After that, I played with the tools and two things itched at me. There are different versions of the brush you select. That's fantastic. Inks with the inks and watercolors with the watercolors. Great, but I found that if I was using an ink brush and went back to select a different ink brush, it went back to using the one that was previously selected in the canvas and it wouldn't refresh to the newest tool selection unless I used a whole different kind of tool and then went back to the ink tool. This was very annoying if you're wanting to use two different ink pens. 2. If you mess with your smoothing too much, your pen's lines will start to lag behind. Maybe if I was using my finger, I wouldn't notice, but I can see with my Apple Pen my lines slowing. This is definitely not as annoying as the problem with the tools, but it can be confusing if you don't know why. So, if you find that messing up your groove, check the smoothing settings. And in case if you need a hint, the smoothing settings are up in the upper right-hand corner, and it's those. The color selection has become more versatile with different sliders, values, and palettes. And quite frankly, the pens have a great look to them, and the drawing process is still enjoyable if you stick to fewer pens. There's even a pattern creation option that is incredibly confusing to use because I actually just copied a pattern right here and then I don't even figure out how I placed it, but I did, especially because I accidentally made this whole thing, which I ended up keeping for my background, which is very awesome because I was aloof to what I wanted for my background anyways. I found a reference that I liked and got started with an actual art piece. You'll see very quickly here that the sketch in the background, his hair is absolutely luscious, and I just had to point that out because it is just remarkably beautiful. The profile was harder because everything is in different angles. I did end up finishing the eye closer to the nose bridge than I should have. I knew that for the lighting, I was going to use different colors for the midground and the forefront, or the foreground, however you would call it. For the midground image, which would be the bigger head, which would be in between the background and the smaller figure, for the forefront, which is the one that would be smaller, I would be using cooler tones. This made it much more interesting. The line art was kept fluid, and I added some extra lines later in the process for extra movement. That said, the extra movement being some of these scratchy little things that I threw around the canvas willy-nilly. During all of this, my mind's focus was on a good flow and colorful lighting. So I wanted a lot of more smooth movements that were more complementary and like wishy-washy, as you can see with the hair strokes already. I wanted to focus on some color light actions. Lots of things bouncing around here. I went for the watercolor brush when coloring. This was easier than I had expected. Getting the colors where I wanted them was unusually fantastic, which is concerning because I was not one for the watercolor brush when I was doing my old art on here. As mentioned before, the midground is all warmer colors while the forefront had more cooler edges, such as the teal color. The last details were stronger lighting ink thrown throughout. This was my favorite step, and I thought it added something very special to it. Once I finished up, I posted the art to the Sketches community, which is that thing that I mentioned just a little while ago, where I garnered 0 likes. But that's okay, because it gave me a reason to go check out my profile. While I no longer have the canvases from my old art on Sketches, I have every single drawing I posted to the community. I remember the good old days, how lively and encouraging the community was. Of course, there were some blatant tracers and stealers, as you can still see if you go scrolling through the gallery now, but there were some incredible people in here whom you could connect with so strangely to, especially considering there's no commenting, only posting and liking. And then, one fateful update, Tayasui removed the community feature entirely, destroying everything that we had built. And obviously they still have their servers running up and well, because everything is still there. But it did negatively impact the community, as there are very few posters on there anymore, and there's not much building up or much of anything on there, interestingly enough. So seeing as they brought back, I can tell it stifled what friendships and intentions there used to be. Overall, Tayasui Sketches has remained fundamentally the same app as I had left it 5 years ago. A few bugs, a major generative AI crime, and excellent brushes. Would I take Tayasui back over Procreate? No, and probably not over a few other free art apps that I know. But it's the journey that matters, and this has been a somewhat nostalgic one for me. If you, yes, you, know of any beloved art programs or art apps you'd like to see me redraw in or draw, drop them in the comments. I always love finding new artist spaces. I hope this has helped you grasp an overview of, and that you have a magical day or night. I appreciate you, my beloved friends, and until next time, see ya! Tayasui? But yes, this was long before Procreate stepped into my life, that shining knight in armor. Procreate. And I used one of the pencils from the pencil button tool selection of pencils and various other pencils. But that's okay, LOL. When I took a peek,